This is Rupert from RJ Blackwell's. I'm here today with Mark Karn from Leica Optics, and basically we just want to have a chat about optics that Leica produced. The last 12 months have been fairly traumatic for everybody, and just to try and sort of get a feel of what Leica have brought to the marketplace. There's some new kit available, and just to have a general discussion really. I think the first thing, Mark, is what have we got here today? What are the primary products? What products have we got?
Hi Rupert. Right, so what I brought along is we've got a 3 series of rifle scopes, mainly for the hunting market.
Yeah.
I've also got Geovids, which are one of the top sellers in the UK.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to show you our latest thermal, which is Leica's first foray into the thermal market. So yeah, we can go through that, mate.
Yeah.
Go through that.
Well, I think first things first. Let's have a chat about binoculars. We've got the Geovids here, which is a binocular that I think many of us have seen and familiar with. But let's have a bit of a refresh and a recap of the Geovid and just go through that.
Okay, so with our open bridge Geovids, which everyone's familiar with, we have 3 sizes. We have an 8x42, 1042, 856. We have a 2700R, and we have the .com, 3200.com. Basically, they look the same, they feel the same, weight is the same. The big variance is if you go for the 2700R, you will get a device that ranges and will give you an angular range as well.
Yeah.
If you go for the .com, you'll have that, plus you can download your ballistics data or use a preset program which will give you clicks, holdover, MOA. Yeah. The .com aspect, which has changed from the previous Geovids, is we have an app. So you can download 4, 5, multiple ballistics data, go home, before you go out in the evening, set the Bluetooth, set it to the app, download your ballistics for that caliber that you're using the next day, go out in the menu, you set it up as customized, and that data is in here, loaded, ready to go. You don't need to have your phone with you, although everyone carries it. So that's the difference. Now, the older version, you used to insert a little mini SD card. Yeah. You don't have to do that now, because with that version, download data, SD card, put it in, or I want to use a different caliber. Either I get another SD card, or I take this out, reformat it. With the .com, it will only hold one data, but of course, you just don't download it off your app.
Yeah.
So much easier. And of course, the 3200 indicates that it will range to 3,200 yards.
Yeah.
Ballistics is 1,200 yards.
That's a fairish range.
Oh, and if you're into your target shooting with Kestrel Elite, the wind meter.
Yeah, Kestrel.
As long as that's got Bluetooth, you can
make them all connect and talk.
Yeah, range, look in, wind meter, Bluetooth. Then it reads the Kestrel, so your ballistics range will actually go a lot further.
Yeah.
So, for the target guys, long distance with your wind meter, you'll also pick up the reading on there. So this is certainly a long way forward now. I mean, there's others with
Moved
Bluetooth.
on dramatically.
Hugely.
So we've got obviously a range of scopes now to sort of help to connect that information.
Yeah.
Let's just go into the scopes a little bit. Well, just quickly, what sort of price are we talking for a set of days?
Depends. I mean, if you take the 842, 1042, you're looking around about £2,600, including VAT.
Yeah.
As an indicator, but of course it's a great piece of equipment. Rule of thumb for shooting. I mean, it's accurate, and a lot of people use it, do rely on it. But always go to the range, always test it before you go out. It's what it is. But
obviously, light gathering performance in your binoculars, you've got for guys wanting to use it at low light for stalking aspect. what sort of clarity? How do you describe it?
Even though you've got electronics in it, which will normally reduce the transmission, these are at over 90%.
Yeah.
So, conventional optics around about 90% plus, exactly the same. It's you're not going to be penalised with the Geovids on this.
No, the one bit I always like about the Geovid is actually just how malleable it is in the hand. So something we've sold this binocular for a number of years, and the one thing I've always enjoyed is when you pick it up, it feels like a part of you. It feels right, comfortable in the hand, where some of the other manufacturers are not so comfortable to use, but also just the general quality of Leica is superb and rugged. You can also adjust each tube to each eye, so you can get your guys with different, certainly guys like myself with glasses. You can set each eye to each tube correctly.
Yeah, you got so with the Geovid, you got two wheels, as you see there.
Yeah.
So one is to adjust the reading, so the reading is sharp, and then the other one is your diopter adjustment between right eye, left eye. If you're wearing spectacles, actually set it at 0, because your optician's done that for you. So he's corrected it. But if you don't get on wearing glasses and binoculars, then obviously when you set up, you would have to change the diopter. So that's the same with all binoculars on that side of it. Fully waterproof, even though with electronics, and subject to the weather. You can have 5,000 readings out of battery. It's all subject to the weather, obviously.
Yeah. Obviously, moving on a little bit now to scopes. We've got a new addition to the Leica range, or a reasonably new addition to the Leica range, which came out last year, realistically, or was this? I suppose was it supposed to be launched last year? I've lost track.
We lost track. The Amplis was going to be obviously EWA and everything else, and cancellation of EWA 2020, and it all changes and whatever. I mean, you have all three, which is great. You got the Magnus, which is the top end, which you've had for a long time.
This has been a solid, reliable scope for a number of years.
It's robust. It's all the credentials Leica wants you to have. So then we launched the Fortis 6, which is, I was going to say it's exactly the same, but then people say, oh, hold on, there's a big price difference. Magnus, if we want to be, it's a 2.4 to 16, 6.7 zoom, 2.5 to 15, so it's a 6 times zoom, and the reason there is a price differential around about £300-400, it's actually less expensive to put the illumination control on the side opposite, as it is to put it on top of the ocular. So by changing that, we can reduce the price. Again, internally with all Leica scopes, and it doesn't matter the three you've got there, they're all mechanical, metal inside, aluminium obviously mechanical. So there's no plastic components internally.
That's one bit I think a lot of people don't realise, is that you have got the guts. People always look on the outside, but actually the mechanical guts of what's going on in the turret. And that's one bit I've always been really impressed with, like when zeroing rifles over the years. It's just how mechanical it moves. It moves when you want to go up an inch, it moves an inch, or it's. The turret movement's been great over the years. I've never had I'm not going to say which manufacturer, but I've had a number of manufacturers over the years where you get new out of the box, and the first thing I'm struggling with is actually getting them to zero. But Leica's, it's been so robust over the years.
Yeah, and it's what Leica pride themselves in. But I mean, to have all metal parts, there is a certain cost to it, but it's the robustness, it's the reliability. And when you are buying premium optics, it's a tool. At the end of the day, it's a tool, and they need to work. And some people say, but what about the tube and tube size and light? If I just say, it doesn't matter whether it's a 1-inch tube, a 30mm tube or a 34mm tube,
Yeah.
the actual light is irrelevant.
Yeah.
The tube, what the tube will do is give you more or less, depending on the size, adjustment.
Yeah.
But that's not to say everyone's 34 is going to have more adjustment
in elevation.
In elevation,
Yeah.
than some others 30mm. But you know, 30mm, you fit so many of them. It's common practice. I think that it's used more now. Not everyone's choice, second focal plane, but with us, it's robustness.
I think one of the big things now is that we're finding is like often now, because of the optics manufacturers trying to get more light gathering out of scopes, the rear objective's got so much bigger. Over the years, I remember, you know, going back to, and I had like an old P-car scope, and you know, like now it would be like the same size as like it's like the 30mm tube in the middle, and now we've got almost like a 40 plus mil of rear objective diameter, you know, not just in the glass but the overall size. So, you know, as it's all got a bit bigger, sort of the proportion of the scope sort of almost needs that slightly bigger tube to make it look, otherwise it looks a bit weird with two massive a massive objective lens and like a tiny little tube in the middle.
Yeah, we have big oculars on ours, you know, sort of maybe 20% more than some of the others. Exit pupil is mathematics, but with the larger ocular, it's easier to position your eye.
Yeah.
And move around. So that's another big advantage for certainly all of the Leica's products. And the other model that you've taken on recently is our Amplis. Now,
this is a great value for money scope, I think. Just from the initial experiences we've had here, and from the initial customers that we've had giving feedback on this scope. This is a great scope for I don't know how Leica have done it, to be honest.
Sure, I mean it's we just say it's a no bells and whistles. I mean, so if you buy it without a BDC, you cannot have it retrofitted, whereas you could do on the Magnus and the Fortis. It's a go-to, you know, oh, I'm going out, let me just grab the rifle, it's got my scope on, it's robust, I'll put it in the back of the truck. That's what the Amplis is. It's no frills. It's our introduction to the premium quality line. So by no means is the glass cheap, far from it. Again, it's all metal, it's all robust. It's just got no bells and whistles. What I would say about that is it's got 20-meter parallax to infinity. So you said it's value for money scope. But for those guys that maybe want to invest in an exceptionally good scope for rimfire,
yeah,
20 meters parallax.
Yeah, cover you on your short distance ranges, and even your air rifle guys, you know, if they want something to crank down a little bit, and I don't know, possibly some of these night vision units that you need quite a serious adjustment on parallax to these add-ons. It could be quite helpful for that, to be honest.
Sure, yeah, and that's, you know, it's a tool. So the Amplis, it's by no means is it or price or can't be as good as. There's benefits in the others, yes. Come on, it's a go-to, it's a tool, and that's what I'm saying. You know, the guys that are out day in, day out, you know, vermin control, deer management. You know, it's a tool. It needs to be robust. It needs to work in low light. They've all got 90 plus light transmission. It depends. It depends what you want.
And with the Amplis range, just go through what other scopes within Amplis.
Well,
at the moment,
new out that people are coming across is the one 2.5 to 15 by 50 and a 2.5 to 15 by 56. The 44mm is brand new.
Will we see that probably a bit later on in the year, do you think? Because you know what it's like with all these things, especially at the moment.
The demand is there, certainly in the US. That's a big market, and it'd be a few months, I would have said, before the 44 is readily available in the UK.
Okay.
It can always change.
And then moving up to the Fortis range, we've just quickly run through the scopes we've got available within the Fortis. We'll talk a bit more about the Fortis maybe.
Sure, because it's certainly a scope. So
this is a premium scope, and effectively one of the obvious difference with this scope is the difference between having your illuminator on the top and on the side.
Yeah. It's a pure 6x mag. So
and you've got parallax.
The Magnus has parallax as well, but its optical quality is the same as the Magnus. So the 2.4 to 16, it's sort of 6.7 times magnification factor. Pure 6 times, so you got the 1.6, which is great driven game scope, a 2 to 12 by 50, and 2.5 to 15 by 56. So ring mount, rail mount, with BDC, without BDC, exactly the same as the Magnus. But of course, you can make changes, which changes the cost.
And then moving on to the Magnus, this is effectively Magnus 2, I suppose, is what we want to describe, because the Magnus 1, which has had a few variation, this has had some upgrades, but how long has this been out for now? Probably total 7 years, 8 years?
8 years. I mean, in the UK, 6-7 years, I would say that. And what we did with the Magnus previously, you had the battery. You insert the battery, push it in, flick it down, and if you wanted it out, you sort of just flick it up with your nail.
Yeah.
So what they did was they just changed the battery cover. So you got this little lever. Just undo that lever, and the battery flicks up. And they had a sort of a slight improvement on the electronics as well. So, optical specs are the same.
They also made it a little bit more positive, didn't they, on the 2? Where the one of the earlier complaints was it could
undo it.
You could flick it. You could flick it on a bit too easy or accidentally, and then suddenly find your battery's gone.
Yeah, I mean, if you've just done it yourself,
it's quite a bit more positive
on it. So it's tweaking things, it's improving things. This is nothing new. I mean, as the cycle, the life cycle of the product goes on, you can make little changes that people may like and everything else. But that's I've been in the optics business since 1997. It's not new.
Yeah.
It's always happened.
And then you've got BDC on the Magnus. Or the Fortis offers a BDC as well.
Fortis offers BDC as well. It's obviously all price conscious. If you bought a non-BDC and further down the line you thought, I wish I'd got a BDC, you can retrofit it.
Yeah.
The Amplis, you've got a choice with or without BDC.
And that's it.
At this moment in time, if you buy it without the BDC, you cannot retrofit it.
Okay.
And the other thing maybe mention about the Amplis. The Amplis doesn't have that automatic turn off.
Yeah. So on a lot of rifle scopes, on premium rifle scopes, so to try and save battery, to keep your battery on all the time, you can keep your illuminated reticle on, and when you get to sort of 90 degrees, it will turn the illuminated reticle off. It's actually just fractionally
45 normally there. It can go on,
and then the same on the side. So if you're sat in a high seat and you've got your rifle laid across your lap, you can put the scope will be this direction. It'll just help you save the battery life a little bit, which is just helps.
Yeah, and there's automatic turn off on the Fortis and the Magnus. So, you put it away at night, you forget to turn it off, 4 hours down the line, it'll turn itself off. So it's little things.
And that works off
extra.
general movement.
Yeah. So it's little things like that that's a difference. But, again, we have introductory line to premium optics. We have the Fortis, which is a premium scope, let's make no doubt about it, and we have the Magnus, which is a premium scope.
I suppose this scope sort of focusing like Swarovski Z6i type, sort of hitting that marketplace, you know, that sort of
similar.
Similar. And then you got, you know, this one, which is your premium marketplace, you know, 2,000 plus effectively.
Yes, it is. I mean, if you take
if we just run through the prices, so starting from the bottom up, what, you know.
Okay, if we take there without the BDC,
these are all 56s.
They're all 56s without the BDC. You can sort of 1450 for the bottom one.
Yeah.
2200 for the Fortis. 2750 for the Magnus.
Yeah.
If you add £220 more onto the standard price for the BDC, it's 180 for the Fortis, £60 for the Amplis. And the reason is, with Fortis and the Magnus, you get a standard ring, but we can give you rings 1 to 12 depending on your caliber.
Yeah.
The Amplis BDC, standard ring only. There isn't a ring to fit, you know, 1 to 12 to fit the caliber. So it, again, another reason we can keep the cost down.
Just another little thought is, obviously we're talking about rings actually. In this country, we seem to buy a huge amount of tube scopes designed for rings. And in Europe, actually, we had a bit of a discussion trying to work out where in Europe. And you know, some of the reports I was getting back was like, you know, they're in some countries in Europe, they're like dominantly is rail mount, and there's advantages and disadvantages, but there's also reasons why. And from our research, we've done a bit of reasoning why, and a lot of it actually is to do with a couple of rifle manufacturers that seem to dominantly make rings for their rifles. So thus, the scope manufacturers are selling more scopes because of those dominant manufacturers. We're primarily talking Tikka and Seiko. So like Norway, I think we decided that Tikka and Seiko are quite a big, strong brand there, and they sell a lot of
the Nordics most certainly. It's about 90% ring sales in the Nordics. Here in the UK, I'd say it's probably even more. I'm talking centre fire, not obviously air rifle. I'm talking centre fire. I would say
rifle, though, it's probably even more.
Even it all the time. Yeah. But for centre fire, we're about 92-93%. I would say ring. Now, personally, I'm lucky enough. I've got two blazers.
Yeah.
So I use the blazer saddle mount rail, and it's easy for me to fit. It has to be parallel. It can't be, unlike ring, you know, unless you get someone to fit it that knows what they're doing. You know, it could be slightly on the skew.
Yeah.
There's also no marks, because with ring, if you're not careful, you can mark the tube.
There's also, I think, mechanical advantages with a rail. With the attachment, it is going to like a teeth track system effectively underneath the scope. And I think some people think, if you just lift up that rail, some people think that is added on separately. The rail is actually machined part of the tube. So you've got a seriously strong mount there. Also, you're not putting any flex on the tube, where sometimes with and it's also depending on the thickness of the tube, you can create more flex with it. But if you're cranking up, and you've probably seen, I think probably most people have seen a rifle tube that's been crushed over the years, where people have tightened up the rings too much, they've crushed them, or they've slipped, and again, you know, taking your rings on and off. And that's a nice thing with the track system, is it's all neat and hidden and sealed. You can't really make a mess of it. The only downfall with it is the only fractional downfall with it is just trying to find enough mounts for all the various rifles out there to suit. But if your rifle does take, or you know, and the model of your rifle have got mounts available for a rail, I'll be honest, it's well worth a shout at it and a look at it. How much more is it? It's not a huge amount. What's like 150?
About 150, 200 pounds, depends on the model. I mean,
and then you're not having to buy rings on it. Saying that, you know, on the those sort of premium offers, you're not often having to pay for the rings. You just having to pay for a base unit instead of rings on top, so you get a bit of a saving there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, if you look at Germany, it's the complete opposite to us and the Nordics. I think France is predominantly.
What was Germany again?
I think Germany would be very similar. Maybe over 90% would be ring mount. I certainly remember from.
Oh, was it rail mount? You mean?
Sorry, for rail mount.
Yeah,
my apologies. You know, certainly from remembering back with some other people that I know, it was in Germany nearly all rail mounts.
Yeah.
America is almost entirely all ring, and they like first image plane.
They also like a lot of 1-inch tubes still in.
And they like a lot of 1-inch tubes.
Do Leica do 1-inch tubes for the US market?
No, we don't. We've got the 30mm, we've got 34mm for sort of the target scopes. The guys out there want it. We have a first image plane. It's the PRS. It's precision, you know, long distance.
Yeah.
Again, designed predominantly for the States, and even the magnification changer is the opposite direction to us in Europe. That's for, you know, it's designed for the guys in the States, but that's first image. Whereas, you know, over the years, we sell more second image, certainly at Leica, you know, because it's a hunting scope. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and realistically, the average person's probably, average deer shot's realistically about 80 metres, or, you know, as a hunting point of view. And then, you know, if you're stretching out maybe 300 metres, you know, is sort of, you know, is a sort of longer range.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, I always remember a guy in Scotland, and he told me, he said, "Oh, why you got these high magnifications? Because you get someone that's not experienced, puts the mag up, and the beast looks closer," his words, than it really is. But what you got to remember is, we're a company manufacturing, let's say we do them obviously globally, but for Europe, well, in the Europe, you know, the guys are out in the mountains, depends what they're shooting at. It can be longer than certainly the distances we're used to here, or that we want to shoot here. You know, you've got to try and find a solution for all markets.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. But you know, I like the 56 is certainly more popular, I would say, in the UK because of our hunting conditions, twilight, low light use. We want as much gathering of light as possible.
We don't, you know, like in Europe, you know, I suppose we've got pheasant shooting here, they've got driven game, and, you know, and that's why I suppose, you know, percentage of this style of scope sold in Europe is, compared to a 56 this would be sort of
huge.
Vast quantity.
Absolutely, or even those going for big game, you know, where you don't need the magnification, but what you certainly need is a very, very wide field of view, and especially with boar in Germany. So yeah, I mean,
I'm not be honest, I've got a Magnus version of that, and when I've been into Europe and just used it for stalking purposes, it's people get. I think people get a little bit sort of, it hasn't got a big front objective to gather the light, but actually, funny enough, the light gathering isn't that bad on a little scope like that, and it's quite a flexible little scope still. You can use it for all.
Oh, certainly. It's just, you know, it's there's a lot of similarities with us and other countries, but there's some things that we do more than others, etc. So you know, you need the range.
Yeah.
And within our range, there will be something that suits everyone, and certainly with Amplis, we're now looking sort of rim fire, centre fire, and like you say, if someone's got a really expensive air rifle and they want to invest in good optics, then we've got a solution for them for that now.
Yeah, well, this is a very nice little scope. Obviously, one of the other new releases in the last sort of 18 months, I suppose, is the addition to thermal.
Well, thermal is huge in this country. I underestimate.
It's big in Germany as well, isn't it? The guys are trying to get their boar culls.
A lot of laws are changing in Germany, because at one time, I think, if you remember, if I'm correct in this, that you couldn't use any enhancements. You relied on a full moon for the pigs and what have you. And now certain states in Germany will allow, not on deer, as in this country, certainly not. But with the wild boar population, at times they've got to manage them. So
the other factor is they often move at dark anyway. You don't see.
Sure.
So
sure. So it's our first foray into thermal. We actually launched it July, August of last year, and then with what's been going on, delivery started in the UK around about December.
Yeah.
So we got two models. We got a Kalinox View, which is purely for observation use. Very large sensor. It's got a 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10 times magnification. And then we've got the Kalinox Sight. So the Kalinox Sight doesn't have any magnification. It's 1 times magnification, because quite simply, this has been designed to clip on to the objective of a rifle scope. The sensor is slightly smaller than the View, and you use the magnification of the rifle scope to increase the magnification on the Kalinox Sight. Now, what we do not supply is an adapter.
Yeah.
So literally, this is one that
is that a Reckonagel adapter?
No, this one actually is from Rusan. This one.
Yeah.
Mr. Svetic, compliments to him. So what you do is you literally just take, because you can use this as a view as such. You obviously got the eyepiece, but you work on 1 times magnification.
Yeah.
You change within the menu. If you go through the menu, it says handheld. So you set it when you're viewing to handheld. When you're going to put it onto your scope, take it off, because then it gets the image. So literally, you just take the adapter, screw it on. Oh, look at that first time. What a bit of luck.
It's got to find thread, isn't it?
It's got to find its thread, most certainly. So for this purpose, there we are. We put it on, then we just go
grab a scope
onto the scope there, line it all up, click. Now you'd go and zero that. So with the menu, you adjust the menu.
And you're not having to align crosshairs like some of the early add-ons. Pulsar did one, and you had to sort of align the crosshair to the front, to the scope, and everything else. So this is just a pure add-on. This is. So.
And yeah, it's pure add-on. Align it. So basically, what you're doing is aligning the optical axis with the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Zero, check it, and you can adjust everything as you would. There is a little demonstration on YouTube from our office in Germany, in English, I should add. And then once it's set, so it's all zeroed, it's all joined up, you can take it off, put it back on, and you've got it. It's still there. But of course, so now with it mounted, you just use it on the screen, and you've turned a day scope into a thermal imager.
Nice bit is you can being able to use it as a spotter as well, effectively a thermal spotter. If you shot an animal and it's sort of headed in some dark undergrowth, especially on low light levels, and you're trying to find it, you can use it to go and pick up the blood trail or the heat source of the animal, and then go and find it, which I think is one of the great things about thermal. It saves a lot of time trying to call your mate out with a dog to go and find that lost fallow buck or whatever, or muntjac, which is quite easy to lose.
Yeah, I mean the detection range is 3,000 meters with the View, 2,000 meters with the Sight, and obviously because different application.
The only thing is with these things, as you say, I've noticed with them, is that the higher the magnification, the the bigger the problem with it, pixelization can be quite a big issue when you start to crank up the magnification at distance. So, it's a bit like cameras. You crank the zoom up and you try to expand the picture on a screen, and it just.
Exactly the same. I mean, I personally with a rifle scope and the sight, I can go to 6, and I'm happy with 6. On the view, on the menu it says 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 1 is 2.5 times, 2 is 5, 3 is 7.5, up to 4, which is 10 times mag. I don't need to go over 5 times mag.
Yeah.
So I actually have it normally set at 1 for 2.5, but I'm equally at 5 I can use it. I've tried it at 7.5. It works really well, but I like you said, it's the same with cameras. At some point, it takes over. So no, I think 5 times is ideal for me on view. You may find it different. With a rifle scope, again, I find up to 6 times suitable for me, but that's an individual thing.
Yeah.
There's no rule to say it's got to be that. It's got to be that. That's down to us.
Well, I think I'm trying to think what else we got to cover. Would you say? Is there anything coming out in the future? Is Leica got any launches, or is it?
We're always developing. We're always looking. The market always changes. And to remain competitive, you have to look at what the market is, and when you're talking premium, at what price point is it going to sell in the units required?
Did we run any prices on those?
No, certainly. The list price on the Kalinox Sight is, including tax, is 3,450.
Yeah.
And on the Kalinox View, it's 3,950.
And adapter, how much is an adapter? The attachment for the Sight. So
it depends which one you buy. I mean, Rectangle really.
I've had the Rectangle. I think it was around about 175, 200.
Well, that's it, round about that from Alan. Well, Alan Rowan very kindly sent me a Rectangle adapter, which was really good. This one that I brought along today was Tomo Svetic kindly got me a Rusan.
Yeah.
As Tomo knows the owner.
Yeah.
but again, they're the two that we recommend. We have a PDF that has which adapter fits which model, which size objective.
Yeah.
Rusan numbers are listed, Rectangle numbers are listed, down to yourself and to your customer, but they both operate very, very similar. Very similar indeed.
Well, I think we've just about covered it, I think, for the moment. Well, Mark, thank you ever so much for coming and just going through Leica for 2021. If you have any queries, please do not hesitate to contact me, and I'm sure you'll see Mark Karn at the game fair.
Never on.
Are you doing any of the shows?
I'm not doing the game fair this year. Certainly the British Shooting Show.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll be there in February next year. And there may be a show. South Yorkshire has a small show at Doncaster Racecourse later in the year. Pandemic dependent. Hopefully we'll be there. But certainly I would say in the calendar, British Shooting Show is all lined up.
Perfect.
Cheers.
Thank you again.
Pleasure. Thanks,
Cheers.
Rupert.
Thank you.
Cheers.